Hey people, how you doing today? The question today is, should concerts be regulated? So, the reason why I'm asking this question is because recently there was an incident where 9 people died at a concert, and it involved the rapper Travis Scott. And while Travis Scott was performing, but in as well as he has a way of doing and saying things that, shall we say, is suggesting that people do certain things, and also would be considered controversial, would be considered, shall we say, inciting violence, inciting things, and all this other stuff. Okay. Um, and so, to be more specific, so what basically happened was when Travis Scott would say something like, everybody jump the fence, people would jump the fence. Or if he saw somebody doing something, he would go to the extreme. Or if he didn't like how somebody did something, he'd say, hey, you beat up that person, or, whatever it is. But also, there was some things that was going on in the what is called the mosh pit, okay? And I'll talk about that in a few minutes, okay? But apparently a lot of people were injured, and unfortunately there was deaths and all kinds of mayhem that just simply went down. And so he's under a lot of fire and scrutiny for that, because a lot of people felt as though the minute these things were happening, he should have stopped the show, and put that first, before the show or anything else that was going on. And clearly, as reports are coming out, that there is loads of video of people who were literally, trying to get his attention to say, stop the show, stop the show. And the show just kept going on. There's even one video of a guy, he got up, by the cameraman, and he's trying to get the cameraman's attention to say, listen, you got to tell Travis to stop the show, please stop the show. And the guy just kept trying to tell him, no, get away, get away, get away, rather than listening to what, this guy is saying. And, it sucks, because from what you can see in that video, clearly the guy didn't stop and showed any concern to what this guy was trying to get his attention about, that was in dire emergency about. And obviously, it's kind of unfortunate, because I just felt like, with this guy, he could have stopped and assessed the situation. Yeah, he's got a job to do, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure there has to be something in this guy that has to care about life. You know what I mean? And if you don't care enough about life, and you care more about, just you playing your part, then that says a lot about you, in the sense that, well, what if that was your family? Would you feel the same way? So anyways, I digress. But but anyways, but what I'm saying here is, so because of all of this mayhem that has went down, and by the way, since I mentioned this happened, in the mosh pits. Now, first of all, just to give you some backstory with mosh pits. Mosh pits has been going on since the late 70s. It all started with punk music, and it grew into rock music, because sometimes with rock music it can be aggressive. There's rage, and there's all these other things. But at the same time, with mosh pit, it's not necessarily about trying to be so enraged that you're trying to kill somebody. No, I mean, that really wasn't the purpose of the mosh pit. It's almost like saying you just have this rage and you're just trying to, push and this and be aggressive, but not to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to pull out a knife and I'm going to stab somebody, or I'm deliberately going to kill somebody. No, that's definitely not what a mosh pit is about. Unfortunately, with mosh pits, yeah, they can be very dangerous. And so because of the danger that's involved in a mosh pit, people can get hurt, severely injured, and yes, you can even be killed in a mosh pit, okay? And that's just the risk that comes with being in a mosh pit, unfortunately, all right? But anyways, so in this case with Travis Scott, because this is not his first time that something like this has happened. This has happened quite a few times. And because it's happened quite a few times and he's been in the spotlight for it, that's why, it's now becoming a question of, should concerts be regulated? And that's why I wanted to just share a few thoughts with you as to why should it be regulated or should it be done differently? So speaking of, I kind of had this conversation with the lead attorney. And by the way, I went on the lead attorney's YouTube channel and I spoke about my viewpoint because he asked the question as far as what do I think, and even though it was kind of brief, but I just wanted to, obviously expand on my viewpoints. And one of the things I said on the lead attorney's channel is that, the question is going to become, is this going to be a civil or a criminal case? And I said to the lead attorney, I think this is going to be more of a civil case than it is of a criminal case, because for as long as I've been a musician and I've played in rock bands and, I've played where people have done mosh pits and all this other stuff. But, it's one thing to get arrested, but it's another thing to get sentenced. All right. And so that was the discussion that I was having with the lead attorney. And, even though, he was charged with a misdemeanor, and I'm pretty sure they've settled or done whatever they had to do. But I can honestly say, even with the artists I've worked with, all the artists that I've seen who has quote unquote been in trouble for some incidents like this, it has never gotten to the point where they've been criminally charged and sentenced, where they've been in jail for basically murder or for homicide or for anything of that nature. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. If it's out there, then so be it. But as far as my knowledge, I have never seen not one person be charged and be sentenced to go to prison or to jail for many years as a result of negligence, in terms of, the negligence being that it's their responsibility, their fault, or anything of that nature, where it's that severe. I'll just put it that way, right? And so that was one of the points I brought up with lead attorney. And so, what I find interesting is that even though the company Live Nation has been cited for all different violations and so forth and so forth, but clearly this company, and as well as others, obviously they keep putting on concerts and people keep coming and people, and all these things. So now that it's become such a big deal, let's put it this way, and this is why the question becomes, should concerts be regulated? And so my thought to that is this. Number one, if a concert is going to be regulated just in the same way as music is regulated, for example, if music has cuss words, you notice that there's a label on there that says parental supervision advised, or something like that. I know I probably said it wrong, but anyways, but the point is they're letting parents know that your kids needs to be supervised if they're going to be listening to this, okay? And so that's what I'm wondering, is this going to be the thing that needs to happen with concerts? Like, for example, should mosh pits be banned or be ruled illegal at this point, because of all the deaths and all the incidents? And so just to eradicate all of, these things happening, should it be banned or should it be just simply illegal? And so that if the minute, somebody goes to a concert and a mosh pit happens to start or break out, security eradicates it, like very, very quickly. Even to the point that if the band is playing, the mosh pit starts, then the band has to stop at all costs, till the crowd is under control. Then they can start back again, okay? And maybe that will also stop the whole mosh pits in terms of concerts being regulated. And another thing, even though it kind of goes against the freedom of speech, but at the same time, maybe, the promoters should let the artists know these are the kinds of things that you can do on stage. These are the kind of things that we won't tolerate, because number one, we don't want the bad publicity, and as well as you don't want the bad publicity. The other thing too is, because of the regulations that have been put in place, it also prevents certain incidents from happening. And by the way, speaking of, this, is not limited to just rap, rock, punk, and all these kinds of concerts, but it can apply to all, so that everybody gets a fair share. You see, so that it's not saying, well, why is it fair? Why is it, unfair that they only get this, but they don't get it? You see? But to unpack that, check this out, okay? Check this out. It is very highly unlikely, highly unlikely, that you go to a jazz concert and you're going to see aggressive behavior. And if you do see aggressive behavior, it's usually some incident that has happened in the crowd where somebody didn't like something, and unfortunately it just, turned into a bad situation or something gone wrong. And And yes, they do stop the show, and make sure that, that's being taken care of. But the likelihood is going to be a lot less. And so this is where, with certain concerts, there has been this ongoing, shall we say, battle, because, for example, there is insurance costs that comes with certain concerts that are just way up there, versus other concerts the insurance is very, 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 very low. So for example, the insurance to put on a jazz concert is going to be considerably low, versus the insurance for an R&B concert is going to be higher. Okay. And when you have certain styles like rock and pop and rap, the insurance is going to be a lot higher, So this is why, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of rap concerts, because unfortunately, with rap music, the insurance bill is so up there, for these promoters. And so, unless you have, the kind of money that you can afford to pay that insurance bill and pay for everything that's involved in putting on that show, then great. But I can guarantee you that there are not going to be a lot of rap concerts, especially, shall we say, with the big stars per se, that it's going to have these things happening very often, because again, it's just the insurance is just way too big. Now, there are certain exceptions that I've seen, like for example, where an R&B concert will be put on, but at the same time, a rap artist will be on there. But it's not just any old rap artist. It has to be a rap artist that fits within the theme of the concert, or at least they can sneak in the artist in a way to say, okay, we can get away with it because it's going to be this type of crowd that comes in to see these artists, so that, what we're doing is, it's called risk assessment. And because of the risk assessment, it means we don't have to worry that there's going to be a lot of accidents, there's going to be a lot of incidents, anything of that nature. And that's, and those things are going to come into play in terms of why certain concerts are going to be put on. And so that's part of why, if things were to be regulated, that would be another thing that would be taken into consideration. And also another thing that will be taken into consideration, speaking of regulations, is that should it be that if certain artists, especially in the rap world, who have a certain type of show going on, that it should be deemed that it's an 18 and over crowd, and there should be no one that's under the age of 18, right? And also, if there is going to be a concert where it's under the age of 18 and a rapper has to get up there, then he's going to be regulated as to what he can't say, what he can't do in the performance, and what he cannot promote as well. So all of these things will be taken into consideration, so that what we're trying to do is to lessen the risk assessment for accidents, incidents, all these things, and it's for the health and the safety of the public, in as well as it's for the sake of the reputation, so that the reputation is not at stake, okay? So just these things are going to be taken into consideration if a concert is going to be regulated, okay? Now, my thought at the same time is the reason why concerts have not been regulated is because, one, when you have a lot of money, time, politics, and all of these things that are involved in the concerts, it becomes difficult to make that call about regulation, because when you have these things in place, everybody is trying to play the game so that they're getting a piece of the pie in some way or some shape or form. Because think of it this way, if a concert's unregulated, then that means everybody gets to go. Then that means the promoter, he's profiting. And that's the idea behind any event, is if you put an event on, we all want to profit. That's part of the business. You know what I mean? So anyways, and then also too, sometimes in certain incidents, that because of you putting on a concert, politically and economically, it also plays a part into the community, because it puts monies back into the community. And from the political standpoint, it also helps the agenda of the politician who is trying to go up in ranks in terms of what he can do, what he can accomplish, or what she feels like, okay, I did this, or I let this happen, or because this happened, I proved the point that, my agenda works. And so for every time I'm proving my agenda works, I'm moving up in ranks. You see? I'm moving up in ranks. So that I have the power to be able to say, okay, if I say I'm going to do this and this happens, then the people can trust the fact that if I am running for this type of office with this type of power, then it means I can make things happen. You see? So that's another reason why things wouldn't be regulated. So overall, I just wanted to say this. My condolences to the families of the people who have died of this unfortunate incident at the concert at Astroworld. Second of all, I would also just like to say that I hope Travis is watching. Granted, Travis, we clearly see what your message and what your concert is about. But I think at some point, there needs to be some sort of accountability in terms of if your concerts and your music is going to be harmful to people to the point that they're dying, they're losing their lives, then if you have any kind of remorse or care about the situation, then maybe it's time that you need to change things up in a way that people are not losing their lives. If you really feel that remorseful, okay? That's just my thought to you, Travis Scott, okay? I'm not saying, I'm trying to tell you how to do things. I'm just saying, I think you need to think about, things differently moving forward, because clearly, if you're doing something over and over and over and over, and you're getting unfortunate incidents out of this, and even though on the back end, it's serving you justice, because for every time you've had an incident or some controversy, your numbers go up in terms of streams and record sales and all this other stuff, because controversy sells and curiosity is what, gets people going and all that stuff. And I get it. Okay, beautiful, right? However, there comes a point where you have to stop and think, okay, how many more incidents does it take before you realize that something here is going to give, and it's going to come to a point where you might even lose everything that you've worked for? And was it worth it? Just saying, right? Or even to the point where everything that you've worked for could be gone, just like that. Or, unfortunately, and I don't want to say this, but somebody could think, man, well, since Travis, since this is basically his fault because my relative went to his concert and he died as a result of being in that concert, that person can retaliate. Boom. And then try to take your life. And then guess what? The mad circle has started. And all for what? All for what? Just saying, right? But anyways, so that's just my thought. But okay, and another thought I just wanted to share with you guys, okay? There's a difference between entertainment and reality, okay? Now, we all like to be entertained, but we all have to have a sense of what's reality, right? First of all, just because somebody says, go jump off a bridge, it doesn't mean you should go jump off a bridge. So just because Travis Scott is saying, beat this kid up, are you going to beat this kid up? You know what I mean? Like, is it really worth it because he said it? Is Travis Scott that powerful of a person that if he says something, you're going to do it? Like, really stop and think about it. If he says for you to do something bad and you're doing it, who's benefiting from this? Are you benefiting from this? Is it for the likes? Is it for World Star? What are you benefiting from this? You tell me. I'm not here to judge, but I'm just saying, like, where's the benefit? Because personally, I don't see the benefit. So if you can see the benefit, you let me know in the comments. You let me know. I'm just asking a rhetorical question, right? But anyways, so that's just my thoughts on, the question, should concerts be regulated? So you let me know down in the comments, what do you think in terms of should concerts be regulated? You let me know as far as what's your thoughts on this Travis Scott situation. You let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think moving forward with concerts overall, or is it certain concerts that there needs to be a change in terms of crowd control, in terms of what artists can and cannot do? What preventative measures do you think that can be put in place so that we don't have these incidents? You let me know in the comments. Now, there are certain incidents, I will say in fairness, that we just cannot help. And then there's some that we can help. And because of the ones that we can help, those are the ones that we can do everything in our power to try to avoid. Okay? So, in the meantime, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. And as well as give this a like, give this a like, give this a like. Subscribe to my channel. And as well as hit that notification bell right about there so that you will be notified every time I upload a new video, okay? As well as share this video with your family and your friends, and definitely leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this video and what you think of my thoughts. And as always, one love.